From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Thursday's edition of For the People on this Thursday, October the 12th, 2017. These wildfires in California, very sad to hear it because things are getting worse. And that's what some of the firefighters have been battling these fires have been saying for the last several days. And unfortunately, more people missing today, more people dead, 23 people dead, and hundreds missing right now as these wildfires overnight, struggling to just halt these spreading wildfires because of the shifting winds and trying to just shift people, trying to evacuate them. Some obviously didn't want to evacuate and ended up dead. The edge of the deadly Tubbs fire was less than 2 miles from Jalisco of Napa Valley community, whose 5,000 residents left their homes on Wednesday. They say whether the two burn and to the ground, we don't know. The chief says, my job is to get you out of there. People concerned about their houses more than their lives, frustrating. A lot of the firefighters and rescuers that are just trying to do their job and try to be understanding and sympathetic at the time, but fire consumes, fire is hot, fire kills. But unfortunately, a lot of people just have lost their lives, and a lot more fear dead. I mean, they say missing. The death toll could obviously rise, and we're hoping that's not the case, but that's what they're saying. So far, they're saying that they have also charred around 170,000 acres of land and destroyed some 3,500 buildings since. It's a lot of damage, folks. Their cause has not been conclusively determined. The cause of the fire. It says while the cause has not been, they don't know because arson, they say, has not been ruled out. Still trying to investigate, still trying to figure it out. How do they do this? The winds, they say, are predicted to be very erratic. That's another problem. The winds, it's always the winds. The county spokesperson there, Barry Dugan. There will be bursts of high gusts that can be very unpredictable and difficult when you're fighting a fire, and also for residents who are trying to keep posted. Wildfires damaged or demolished at least 13 Napa Valley wineries. It's up to 13, folks. Remember, it's just 2? Demolished at least 13 Napa Valley wineries. Around 25,000 people remained under evacuation on Wednesday at the fire's belched smoke that drifted over the San Francisco Bay Area, where some residents donned face masks. They're in San Francisco, no kidding. And still missing more than 285 people. Still missing from Sonoma County late yesterday night, the sheriff said on Twitter. It was unclear how many might be fire victims rather than evacuees who not checked in with authorities. It was unclear. And Santa Rosa blocking in some neighborhoods, trying to save some houses pretty much, digging trenches, doing everything they can, but the fire is just finding a way to skip over some of the heroics from landowner, people that own the houses, to the fire departments. Just all their efforts, no matter what they try to do to save their houses, save their distilleries. And I have a different thought about things today. And that is, and I kind of touched on this the last couple weeks regarding the hurricanes and earthquakes and all of this stuff. And yes, I think it's kind of like what Adrian Rogers told me several years ago when the Oklahoma City bombing happened. And Adrian Rogers, very powerful in the Southern Baptist ranks, and Love Worth Finding still preaches around the world on television and radio because he was a great preacher. And I used to attend his church in Memphis. Great guy. But he told me something that I'll never forget. And he told me this in 1995. I was 25 years old. And he said, Keith, he says, I think it's as if God is removing the hedges from America one by one. That's what I think. For America to repent of its sins because of its sins. They're not repenting. Now, I'm not saying everybody that lost their property is some kind of heathen of heathens. But bigger than that is that we get wrapped up in the material of things that we have, things we've acquired, places that we visit and enjoy that distract us from spiritual things, from more important things, with relationships with people, forging better relationships with our family. Some people forget their family. They become successful and they ignore their family. Sometimes even leave them behind. When they're successful, they don't want anything to do with them. Not everybody does that. But I think there's something to be learned about it. It was something to see here in Florida. Again, I've been through hurricane preparedness before, and we had the back-to-back hurricanes back in 2004. First time I dealt with that craziness. But the togetherness for people helping each other, neighbors helping them board up their houses, helping them and the elderly do things and get things done, just to see people doing things for other people. And it's nice to see that. It shouldn't always just be because something bad is about to happen. To me, we should be about our brother's business and our sister's business every single day. And believe me, I'm sad for people that have lost property, and I certainly would not be happy either. It would be sad, but again, I said this yesterday. I said, what would I do if I lost everything? I'm an optimist, and I believe that optimistic spirit is God-given. Not everybody is. There's Eeyores out there. But I thank God for the optimistic spirit to say we can rebuild. We can get things are, it'll get better. We can band together. We can build together. It'll come back better than ever. It's kind of like the resilience of New Orleans. And they built, not a lot of people just left, and interesting, ended up in Houston and have to rebuild again. But I think it's a time where we really have to look for things that are much more eternal. And I think it's a return for people back to look at their spirituality and get right with God. Seriously. And this is a wake-up call. I mean, I don't ignore God. Trust me. I pray very often and realize all good things come from him. But a lot of people, they don't pray. They don't acknowledge. They don't do these things. And I think that angers God. And yes, God gets angry. Does God cause the fires? Does God do these things? I don't think he does. I think these happen from arsonists and from natural occurrence. But I think that there's something bigger than all of this destruction, because we're warned that all heaven and earth is going to pass away. He said, but my words will never. And that's just, to me, it's a point to, even if you're not religious and you don't see that, it's a bigger moral issue of what we do for each other. So we're not so self-centered, caught up in our worlds all the time, where we just are not any good for anything else, for anybody else. We're just ineffective, and we're miserable people. I've said this before. I get the biggest kick going to a soup kitchen and serving soup, washing dishes, serving, helping other people, talking to a veteran, visiting a VA hospital, going to a nursing home and just talking to somebody. It brings a world of sunshine into somebody else's life. You might be sitting there miserable, but you're amazed if you get the heck out of the house, and you'll find that you're going to bring some comfort to your soul because you're not looking at the walls. I'll never forget when my grandmother died, and I loved my grandmother when she passed away, Suzanne. And my grandfather didn't take it. He didn't take anything out of the house. He didn't change anything, not the wallpaper, nothing. It was the same house. It's as if Grandma was going to come walking out of the kitchen with some cookies and some hot chocolate every single time for years and years and years, over a decade. Until finally, there was a housekeeper that opened up the curtains and put some new curtains and put some new carpet in. Got rid of some old chairs and the old wallpaper. It's a new day. You don't forget the one that you loved, that you were married to most of your life. But life does go on. And we have to be available for other people that need us. And he didn't get out of that rocking chair too often. He used to take walks. He was involved with the church. And he just slipped into deep depression. And it was hard. It was hard. And we understood, but it was hard. And some people take it more harder than others, but it was sad to see. But life does go on no matter what. And I suppose the takeaway here is simply this, that when you see all of these things, then make the most out of any situation that you're in. Chuck used to have a book out, How to Squeeze Lemons and Make Lemonade. And there's a lot of lemons in life. It's a metaphor. We can make a difference in other people's lives, in our lives. It's just a decision that we make. And I hope you'll make it for the betterment of everybody around you, including yourself. And you will have a much better day, no matter where you are. Morale is down on the USS Shiloh. It's a warship. They say things are tense on the USS Shiloh. With morale down, one sailor described the Chikora-class guided missile cruiser, which is the USS Shiloh, which is based in Yokosuka, Japan, as a floating prison, the way he described it, while another crew member said it was only a matter of time before something horrible happens. The document revealed. These remarks drive home what leaders on the Navy's 7th Fleet have said all along, that sailors are overworked and undertrained. The sailor goes on, he says, it feels like a race to see which will break down first, the ship or its crew. One respondent of the survey said, per the Navy Times. 2 Navy officials confirmed to CNN, the Clinton News Network, that the information emerging from the surveys was an accurate description to life on the Shiloh. The Pacific Command's mission is to deter North Korea, but members on board the vessel are concerned about how the crew's morale would affect this. He says, I just pray we never have to shoot down a missile from North Korea. A distraught sailor said, because then our ineffectiveness will really show. The results of the 3 command climate surveys were established during the command of Captain Adam Aycock, who is now at the USS Naval War College, and one Navy official could not explain how Aycock had retained his command from June 2015 to August 2017 amid such poor surveys. But the emergence of these reports laid a string of negative publicity involving the Shiloh, including an incident in which one sailor was found on the ship after reported missing for a week and assumed to have gone overboard. So this has fueled a lot of concerns. And as you know, these ships, 2 of them have been broadsided by a container ship